Today, our presentation is talk about the human papillomavirus infection and the female cervical cancer. So, I'm Lau Fai Wong.
And I'm Mao Yicheng.
I'm Li Po Yi.
I'm Yao Qin Long.
I'm Wong Ga-hei.
So why do we choose this topic? According to the CDC statistics, there are about 39,000 cases of HPV-associated cancer every year occurred in United States. And actually, there's a saying that HPV is so common that nearly all sexually active men and women get it in some point in their lives. And cervical cancer is the most common type of HPV-associated cancer. And HPV is thought to be responsible for about more than 90% of the anal and cervical cancer. And among all those 100 types, more than 100 types of HPV virus, and they are classified as low risk and high risk. And among them, the high risk HPV type of 16 and 18 cause about 70% of cervical cancers and precancerous cervical lesions. And generally, HPV infection can be classified as two types, which is genital and normal. People will have genital infection of HPV through sexual contact, intercourse, or sexual contact with people with having HPV virus. And for the normal infection, people will get the virus through skin-to-skin contact, as the virus might enter their body through any kind of wound or lesions on their body. And there are risk factors for people who might having higher chances to have HPV, and which are the number of sexual partners. The more partners you have, the higher chance you may expose to the virus. And the second is the age, as young sexually teenagers or adolescents are more likely to have the HPV virus. And weakened immune system is also a risk factor, as if you have HIV or AIDS, or maybe you have taken some immunosuppressing drugs, you might have higher chances to have the infection. And for damaged skin and personal contact, it actually increases the chances of having normal infection through skin-to-skin contact. And when you are exposed to HPV, or when you are infected by HPV, you will have some kind of warts on your body, and the warts can be classified as 4 types, which are genital warts. They are flat lesions that may appear on your sexual organ. They may cause itchy feelings, and there are common warts which may appear on your hand, and which are rough and might cause pain or any discomfort. And there are also plantar warts that is hard and might appear on your feet, and there are flat warts that will appear anywhere on your skin. And for the cervical cancer, people will feel fatigue, and they might have weight loss and loss of appetite. They might have abnormal bleeding after they're having sexual intercourse, and there might be some kind of discomfort or discharge after your intercourse.
So now let's talk about the details of papillomavirus. It's non-enveloped viruses that contain double-stranded circulating DNA with approximately 8,000 base pairs, and is highly species-specific and do not infect other species. Humans are the only known receiver for HPV, and most papillomaviruses have distinct anatomic predilections that infecting only certain epidermal sites. The virus has the potential to integrate into host DNA that cause the loss of the early regulatory function. And it infects the epidermis through disruptions of the skin or mucosal surface. The virus remains latent in the cells as a circulating episode. And there are 2 modes of replication. One is stable replication in basal cells, and the other one is one-way or vegetative, that is replication in more differentiated cells. And the Epidermal cells differentiate and migrate to the surface. The virus is triggered, that lead to replication and maturation. At the karyotytic layer, there are high copy numbers of virus and extract. The process of virus replication alters the character of the epidermis that resulting in moles.
Well, actually, other than moles, when you have an HPV infection, there is a kind of oncoproteins called HPV E6 and E7 will also affect you, as they together they will inhibit the transcription of the toll-like receptor at9, and as a result, there will be problems when your body try to recognize the foreign invaders or any pathogen-associated molecules. And as there are problems in the recognition, the activation of antigen-presenting cells and the phagocytosis will be affected and delayed. Therefore, your immune response will be affected and the body cannot fight the pathogen well. As a result, the untreated HPV infection will actually increase the risk of HPV carcinogenesis.
And in the female cervical cancer, the genetic change in several classes of genes have been linked into the cervical cancer, and the human leukosis antigen genes are encoded in various ways, and some HLA genes abnormalities are associated with an increased risk of HPV infection progressing to the cancer, and the other HLA genes with a protective effect.
Well, other than HLA, the P53 which also contribute a lot when in the tumor formation, and P53 is normally can cause growth arrest in your cell cycle, and it can stop and prevent any replication of cell which have damaged the DNA, and it can activate the transcription of the proteins involved in DNA repair and to cause apoptosis of those damaged cells. Yet the E6 in the HPV, which is a kind of oncoproteins, will bind onto the P53 and causing degradation of the tumor suppressor. And this, as the low level of P53 will cause interruption in your cell cycle and causing the apoptosis cannot be performed even when there are damaged DNA cell trying to replicate itself, and this actually contributes a lot for the viral replication and malignance of the cell.
And in the polymorphism genes encoded in apoptosis and genes impregnating P53, which are associated with the increased rate of HPV infection progressing to the cervical cancer, and those three things contributing in malignant progression of cells, cervix cells with mutated DNA successfully divide, and the mutated cervix cells grow uncontrollably into a tumor. And for the WHO, we see that the lowest risk type is the HPV 6 and 11, and the higher risk type is the HPV 16.
So let's talk about the stage of the cancer. Stage 0, not a real invasive cancer. Stage 1, small amount of tumor presence in cervix. Stage 2, spread beyond the pelvis and uterus, not invasive to pelvis wall. Okay, stage 3, go into the some part of vagina and pelvis wall, no spread in other side, and uterus may blocked by tumors. Stage 4, spread to bladder or victim or other bodies. So now we're going to talk about the treatment. There is no cure of HPV nowadays, but the infection often clears on its own. Also, we'll need to genital warts or cervical cancer. In the treatment of genital wart, the doctor will prescribe the drugs to patient. There are Podolphos and immunotherapy dots. Also, there are some treatment will use chorotherapy, the freezing off of the types to remove the abnormal cells. Also, charcoal acid, a chemical applied to the surface of the wall in order to remove the wall. Surgical removal, cutting the cell out. Electronic corrective, filling the wall. Laser visualization of the wall. Now we move to talk about the cervical cancer. There are 4 options can choose in this treatment. First, watch and waiting, monitoring the cell change. Sometimes they are not the cancer cell, just the cervical dysphagia. After that, we will have cryotherapy. That means to freezing the abnormal cell with liquid nitrogen. After that, we'll have a colonization therapy. That means this procedure, also known as a colon display, will leave the abnormal areas. And the laser therapy use the light to burn away the abnormal cells. The abnormal cells will be removed by electronic converter. This treatment also have a goal. They remove all the abnormal cells and most of all of the cells with HPV.
After she talked about the treatment, let's talk about the prevention. And in Hong Kong, the vaccination is the major and most common prevention for the HPV infection. And the vaccination is the body part of or from the virus. There is no pathogenic, and the body part of the virus cannot infect the cells. And the vaccination can induce the high titer or similar immunoglobulin G antibody against the virus, and the antibody can act a protector at the point of the entry of vagina or the cervix, and the antibody can prevent the HPV infection and the cervical cancer, because the cervical cancer majorly caused by the HPV infection, and there is some of the HPV 6, 11, 16, 18, something like the HPV antibody can fight for the virus. And in Hong Kong, the three measure is offered for against the HPV virus, because the HPV virus has some high risk and low risk. The three major vaccination include the 2 major high risk HPV virus or the protein, the 16 and 18. And because the HPV infection is caused by the contact transmission, and the condom is usually common and convenient for the prevention, because when we using the condom, we can protect the direct connection with the virus, because between the sexual partners and the HPV virus cannot enter our body through the condom. And also we have the cervical smear test. The smear test is the doctor will take part of cells from your cervical cells and it is early detect for the abnormal cell change. When we have detect the cell change, we can have an early treatment or prevention for the virus become more survival or become cancerous over time. And in conclusion, in the world, most of the people will affected by the HPV infection. So, and also the high risk virus and can also cause the cancer or cervical disease. So we are nowadays have the technology detect for we have the early detection for the cell train or the cancers, and we have the prevention. And the prevention is always better than the cure, because when you don't have to go through the treatment or such as the chemotherapy or radiotherapy. Those treatment will affect your life, and 1,000 lives can be saved by those treatment or prevention. So this is the end of my presentation. Thank you.